So I'm ready to read the next chapter of the Zen Teacher. It's called Non Judgement. The quote at the top says, "To set up what you like against what you dislike, this is the disease of the mind." Shakespeare's tragic hero Hamlet said, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." That philosophy still applies to life as well as to our classrooms today. The struggle we the struggles we face often come down to one thing: the difference between the way things are and the way we think they should be. Our culture conditions us to pursue the duality of this is great, this is awful, all by forcing us to choose a side. But you can eliminate a truckload of dissatisfaction by adopting the more inclusive idea of saying simply, this is. And then, when this changes, you can say, now this is, and accept whatever comes your way. Practicing non judgment doesn't mean you can't have preferences. You can still hate chocolate ice cream and you can still love monster truck rallies. And it doesn't mean that you don't care or that you stop striving for excellence. But when you approach situations free of judgment, you are better able to step back and see them for the temporary, ephemeral thing they are. Life will never be free of problems. As much as we'd like to, we cannot change other people's behavior. But what we can change is how we react. Practicing the Zen tenet of non judgment helps us control our reactions. By refusing to make judgments, we can endure challenges more effectively, and more importantly, we can learn to persevere. When we resist the temptation to assign judgment, we aren't tossed around like sailboats in choppy water. Instead, we will be better able to navigate life's inevitable challenges from a place of grace, equilibrium, and buoyancy. As Zen teachers, one of the most critical environments where we can practice non judgment is in the classroom. Imagine the increased sense of peace we would feel if, for example, we simply learned to appreciate and deal with the resources, students, and administration we have, rather than obsessing over what we think we should have. What if we did as spiritual teacher and author Ram Dass suggests when he said, "Let's trade in all our judgment for appreciating. Let's lay down all our righteousness and just be together." Think about it. What would happen to your sense of peace and love if non judgment were your default position? If you refrained from judging that knuckle-headed student who is the bane of your existence, how might you see him differently? Likely, you'd see him as a child who needs guidance and compassion. Just imagine how far you could go if you decided you could learn and thrive in any circumstance. That might seem a little too kumbaya for people's taste, but then that's just them judging our behavior, isn't it? And we've just learned how futile that is. Here are a few steps to help you reach a place of non judgment. Notice when you're judging something. Don't worry about changing your behavior, just observe your life and notice the times when you pass judgment. The first step is merely becoming aware of your thoughts and choices. Learn more about the situation. Instead of saying, "I know what that's like and I hate it," or "I know what that person's like and I can't stand him," try to learn more about that thing, situation, or person before dropping the hammer of judgment. A thirst for information can make it easier to choose non-judgment because you will seek to really understand what's happening. That understanding in turn increases your sense of empathy and compassion, which makes it much easier to ignore your impulse to judge. Think of alternatives. When you are ready to change your behavior, discover other ways you can respond. Can you ignore the situation, accept it, laugh at it, remove it, or sidestep it? Try to develop a series of alternative responses to keep in your spiritual toolbox. When circumstances stimulate your impulse to judge, pause for a moment, dig through your toolbox, and choose a healthier, more positive reaction. Forgive yourself. We We're either hardwired to judge situations, people, and things, or society has trained us to do so. Either way, learning to embrace non judgment runs counter to our conditioning, so don't expect changes overnight. When you stumble and fall into judgment traps, accept it and forgive yourself. Let me put it this way: you can choose to flip off and swear at the guy who cuts you off on the freeway, or you can choose to ignore the situation, not judge the other driver, and invest the energy you'd save by not raising that distinctive digit into brainstorming and more effective lessons to teach later that day. You'll feel calmer and more in control, and your students will benefit as a result. Here's your Zen teacher assignment for today. As hard as it seems, spend at least half an hour today telling yourself that no matter what happens, you will refrain from anticipating outcomes and passing judgment. Remind yourself to let the world unfold as it pleases and glide through its ups and downs without casting